So for buying those, and this is the self-serving part, you can get them direct from Undamned. I don't know where he's selling them online, but you have to buy 10 at a time, or they can be bought individually from our Paradise Arcade shop.
Anybody in the chat, does everybody in the chat know what a CPS2 system is? Because I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up.
I do not.
Child Protective Services? It
is Child Protective
Services.
So Capcom came out with a number of different systems, but the CPS2 system was the system with Vampire Savior, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, X-Men versus Street Fighter, X-Men, the fighting game, a number of different fighting games, and a couple of shoot 'em ups. And so it's kind of the big plastic system that we see out there a lot with the two pieces where there's an A board and a B board that separate out. And the problem with these systems is that they would die when the battery died. The chip that held the code coffin to unlock it would basically die along with it, and then the game became unusable.
Well, see, and that's a common problem for a lot of platforms, right? Like Mega Race, Tron.
I love the Mega Race.
Yeah, and the common problem with the batteries, they kill everything. So,
so the interesting thing about these, though, is not just the batteries draining down the board. It was that if the battery died, it was like losing the high score save on your on your Tron or other MCR game. It just lost the code. So it wouldn't even damage the board. It would just, that chip that stored the code would lose power, and therefore the code would disappear.
That's worse because it's like it just doesn't function.
Built-in obsolescence.
Yeah,
it was built-in obsolescence.
That's
none
totally
of these games
nuts.
were ever built to last as long as they have.
No, that's very true. Yeah,
that was never the intention. I don't believe from any of them,
except for Golden Tee 99.
Golden Tee 99.
Gold 98 and 99 will not die. I mean, how many boards are sitting on the shelf?
And Pit Fighter.
Oh yeah,
Pit Fighter, man.
Because they're not. No one's running it. They're just sitting in boxes somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Well, I think that brings us to the next segment of the show finally, which is always a fun time.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin quarter mile.
Back to the cave with Time Gunner.
Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
Yes, there is, Doc. There is a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull. The day back in time we'll be heading is January 28th, 1984, Tim McVey Day. What? Oh, I love that sound. Listen to the sound of like that's AI back in 1984. That sound. In technology news back on that date, Apple actually announced the original 128K floppy disk only Macintosh. Did you have one of those, Tim?
No.
Aaron?
No, those are like the expensive apples.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I was a 2C guy.
Oh, I have a 2C also.
There you go.
That's what I am.
2E.
Hey, you should keep that music going all the time.
I try to.
At the box office on Tim McVey Day, Silkwood was number one. That was the. It was only number one for that one weekend. This was a 1983 American biographical drama. It came out in '83. It took 7 weeks to become number one. Directed by Mike Nichols, starring Meryl Streep, Cher, and Kurt Russell. It's funny because I don't even remember Kurt Russell being in that movie, but I'm sure he was.
He was the boyfriend.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Meryl Streep's
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah.
I can't. You know what? All I can remember is the one part where they throw her in the shower and they scrub her down and she's crying. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that. About as long as it took me to play Nibbler, I think. It's been a while.
Wow. Well, speaking of what else was going on that day, on TV, there was a new Silver Spoons episode called I Want to Be Alone.
Here we are, face to face, a couple of silver spoons.
Blah! Man.
Wow, that song is so much worse than I remember.
Making it grow together, we're gonna find our way.
Oh, jeez, I do remember that.
Together, taking the time.
We're not getting flagged for this shit.
They're like, you guys can have it. You can use it as much as you want. We don't give a shit.
Public domain.
We'll pay you to use it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
On another channel, Adam's favorite show ever was Whiz Kids. Also had a new episode. I never watched it. I don't really know what it is. Anybody watch Whiz Kids?
It wasn't my favorite show, but it was fun. I liked it.
Jest.
What's that?
I speak in jest. Of course it wasn't your favorite show. I mean, we all know that was Simon and Simon.
Okay, I might agree with you on that one. I love that show.
Yes. Which brings me to my question to Adam. What's in the juke?
Welcome to What's in the Juke.
Here we go. Okay.
What?
Here we go. All right. Whew. It just gets me every time. I just think it's done, and then it just keeps going. So this is the part of the show where we play a clip of the song, and the chatters try to guess what the clip is within the limited amount of time we give them. And then we give them points, right, Mark?
Yeah, we give them points.
Yeah. But we... do we actually... Is it worth anything, really? I mean, are the points...
No, it's not worth anything. A pat on the back and a hearty hi-ho.
Okay, well, here we go. Here's the first clip. Here we go. Oh, wait. What's this? That's
oh, my God. Yeah. Silver spoons!
Okay, so maybe...
too easy.
It's an easy one. Yeah. Yeah. They're getting echo in the chat again. I don't know why.
Oh, no.
I have to listen to it after. Yeah, Casey pulls it out with yes and Owner of a Lonely Heart. He gets both of those. He gets a full point.
Full point.
Is that freaking Brian eating? Oh yeah. So I'm gonna have to move this back in here. I just can't do this without here. So I have to play this, right? The full point. It's satisfying.
You don't have to. I can do it all.
Okay.
Full point.
Okay.
Oh, there he goes.
All right, here comes the next one.
Wow, that's even easier.
Jeez.
Wow. See, this just goes to show you were paying attention to music in 1984 on Tim McVey Day.
Yeah, this is from. We should mention that this.
All songs that were popular somewhere in the top 40 on this date, January 28th, 1984.
On Tim McVey Day.
Day.
No idea. Really?
Oh, see, and
wow.
Tim, I think we should give you this point. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh,
go ahead and guess.
Quite right. Come on, feel the noise.
Close. Close.
Full point.
Well, that was a half point. He gets a half point.
Half point.
All right, so
band, wrong song.
Here we go.
Aaron Sanders.
Did he get it?
Half point.
Yep.
He got a half point.
Bang your head, mental health. Not mental health, mental health. Yeah. All right, here's the next one.
All right, that one I don't know.
That's pretty awesome.
That's the 84 version. There's an 86 version that people like, but here's this one.
I like the 84 one.
Casey's got the song. And who is the artist?
Half point.
And send me an angel.
Somebody Google.
Somebody Google. Yeah. Who is it? Who is it? Skrillex.
No.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Full point.
No, it's not full point.
The
It's all right.
Skrillex version is really amusing.
It is. Is there a Skrillex version? Scorpions. Yes. No. Nope. Wow. It's real life. No one gets that.
Open fire.
All right. Next
I know the
song.
song.
Oh, jeez, come on. You gotta try harder.
We didn't put the songs. Yeah. Not Sting.
Not Sting.
Yep. And okay, Casey got it.
Casey.
That was Police Wrapped Around Your Finger. Okay, the next track is...
What's that?
Sting didn't go solo till 86, Andy. Yeah. Okay, Van Haken, Jumpo. No, that's not correct. Sorry, dude. You're going to give Andy that? Come on, Van Haken, Jumpo.
Typo. K and L right next to each other.
All right, I'm going to give it to... We'll give it to Andy Ball.
Full point.
All right, buddy. We love you, Andy. We're sorry about your drunkenness. Okay, wait, let's hear that again. Such a good song. Okay, next song. This is going to be a little
Bonus
harder.
point. What year did that come out?
1984.
Yeah.
No.
Hence the name of the album.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well,
What? Oh, you're right.
the album came out in 83. The single was released in January. That was yeah. Maybe it could have come out in December actually. But it peaked in 84. So
I can't see it.
here
That
we
came
go.
out in 83.
Yeah. Here we go.
That was pointless to show it on the phone, huh?
Thank you for cutting it off.
I had to because, you know.
Yes. He says something.
He does.
Yeah.
Oh, Casey got the artist
Half point.
and the song. What? Andy was right on his heels. That was Somebody's Watching Me by Mr. Rockwell, like nephew of the Motown guy. And then Michael Jackson, of course, doing backup. Here we go.
Oh.
I love the intro to this song. Such a good song. See if anybody... No one can defeat Casey.
Yeah.
Lionel
Next
Richie.
time on Stranger Things.
Well,
Half point.
Andy got a half point, not Journey. Oh my gosh.
Journey.
Randy,
Susan is crying right now.
Randy, your answers are showing they're just after everybody else's. Phil Collins sucks. Danding on the Ceiling is not correct.
No.
Running with
so
the
it looks
Night.
like Randall got it.
Randy got a half point.
Half point.
Yes, he did. All right, cool. That's awesome. All right.
On the board.
Randall's on the board with a half point. Here we go. Next one. So far we have it. Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes. Bang Your Head by Quiet Riot. Send Me an Angel by Real Life Wrapped Around Your Finger. The Police. And I see some...
There we go.
Randy got the Romantics. Casey got the song.
Half point.
Half point
Half point.
for Randy and a half point for
Half point.
Casey Relford. Is that right?
Yep.
Talking
Actually,
in your
Casey
sleep.
didn't get it.
You didn't?
Taking in your sleep?
Oh, we give typos are hard on here. We'll give it
Yeah.
a little leeway.
Well, you didn't allow danding in the ceiling.
Well, yeah, danding in the ceiling. Danding on the ceiling. That was pretty good. I dand on the ceiling regularly, and it's fun.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Wow.
Poo. Aaron. Just because you're in a band and you don't know any songs, I can't help you. Okay.
We're in an awesome band.
Your band is awesome. Pink Houses, Casey.
got it. Full point.
He got both of them, didn't he? God.
Yeah.
I shouldn't sound disappointed.
Full
Was it
point.
Cougar or was it Cougar Mellencamp at that point?
It was Mellencamp without the cougar.
Without the cougar.
Yep. Cougar.
Yeah. The Cougar
But we'll
got
get-
added, right?
Yeah. You got to have the Mellencamp. Should we take a vote? Chatters, should it have to have Mellencamp or should it just be Cougar?
Same guy.
Well, it is, but let's see what the chatters say. We'll overturn it for Mellencamp if it's in there, but you're both sort of wrong because it's not John.
I'm just curious what it actually was on the album because I mean we all know his name's Mellencamp, but they forced Cougar on him.
Yeah,
and that was how he started.
Yeah, but on the Pink Houses album, he went back to Mellencamp. It was the first.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember when he made the switch, the transition.
Yeah, that was the one, and then he kept it after that. So here's the next track. All right. Not Ghostbusters.
That's so hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Randy gets half point, and Andy Baldwin gets half point.
Half point.
All right. Good guys.
I think the trick to getting ahead of Casey is to only do part of it. Like, you can't go for the full point.
Yeah. Get half points, and then you can pull it.
Yeah, you got to drop the half point out there, not type the whole thing.
Casey
so you can
says
jump ahead of Casey, because, jeez.
Casey says, I hear Huey is incredibly well hung.
I don't know how he knows that. So the end was Casey in first place, Andy Baldwin in second, Randall in third, with Aaron and Tim McVey tied for fourth.
Wow, no tie?
That's what I just said. They were
tied for fourth.
Yeah, tied for fourth. Aaron and Tim McVey. Aaron Sanders, I think.
But we don't have to do a tiebreaker though, right?
Not for fourth.
Yeah.
You just let that one go.
It just who cares about fourth place, right?
Yeah.
I guess we'll go on to the next thing, right?
You got any voicemails?
Probably. I haven't checked the voicemail.
Oh, you're lucky, Andy. I didn't know I could play.
I beat Tim McVey at something.
Yeah. Barely.
Oh, you know what? That's funny. Let's see the voicemail. Oh my gosh, there is a voicemail in here. I didn't even notice it. I'll have to extract this mother. Let me see if I can get this thing to cranked up here a little bit and the.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got this. And
Tiger, play us a voicemail.
I can't. What? This is actually this is a voicemail that says your vehicle's warranty may have expired.
Okay.
And again, may not.
Well, it's entirely possible, but I don't have that vehicle anymore. It's a little weird, you know.
Or the license plate.
Hey, I think here it is. All right, I'm gonna play it.
Hey, Arcade Radio! It's your buddy Bob Zarzadek, control panel expert and technician. Today I'm calling you from down at the border. You know, here the government, they hired me to test out their new walls. And so far I've climbed over them like 15 times. I'm not sure what they're going for here. You know, they were supposed to pay me like 3 weeks ago, and man, I'm starving right now. So anyway, yeah, what's been going on with you guys? You climbing any walls or anything? I mean, I don't know. I got nothing. I don't really know what's going on here. Anyway, I got to take off. I can see the Border Patrol. They're heading my way in their Jeep Cherokees. Man, those guys get so mad every time I climb over the wall. I'm not looking forward to this. Anyway, I'm out of here. Zarzadek out.
Oh, Bob.
Wow. How topical.
He hasn't called in a while.
Yeah.
So I forgot to play the intro for him, too. But that's
an intro?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for calling 612-548-GAME.
But I forgot. So, you know. There we go. Yeah. So this is the part of the show where we say welcome back to the show, because you know you haven't been here the whole time. So welcome back, Tim McVey.
I was gone.
Nibbler champion.
Thanks for having me back, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we missed you. We missed you. We just actually kind of wanted to hang out with you. That's why we had you on. We're not. I don't know that the interview is going to actually go very well. I mean, like, and Brian, he wasn't on the last show, so he's kind of. We're going to let him lead off because he hasn't seen Man vs. Snake, or he doesn't know like the. Like,
No. I saw the film. I was just disappointed he didn't get as much screen time as Samuel L. Jackson.
Wow.
Wow. It says wow.
What? Wait. That was a different movie.
We were chatting last night about whether we could ask how you get a arcade game on a 747 and have all the snakes on there.
Yeah, believe it or not, I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know how that works.
That's funny.
I honestly have avoided that one too. I can't.
I played the clip.
I avoided it on principle because of the title. I'm
sure.
like, really? Snakes on a plane. That's all you got.
It's really funny.
If that's the best you can sell me.
It's very funny. And actually, the best part is they have that clip, right? He says, enough is enough. And then he says, I'm tired of these mother blanking snakes on this mother blanking plane. We're going to open some blanking windows. And so for the TV version, they actually had Samuel L. Jackson re-record his line, and this is what you heard.
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane!
I like it.
A monkey fighting snakes, which is kind of appropriate because, Nibbler is not Donkey Kong. Maybe that's a stretch. I don't know. And actually, one of the reasons we brought Aaron onto the show was because I think it would be fun to have you guys interact a little bit and just tell us, first of all, we had Aaron on the show. We've had you on the show. Aaron talked about the BitKit. Everybody knows what the BitKit is. It's an FPGA board. But I think its inception was really to revive some Rockola games. Aaron?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it started with Nibbler. That's what it started with. That was the first game I got running on the BitKit, and that's kind of. Then I found out other games ran on that same hardware, like Fantasy and Pioneer Balloon, and so that's how it all got started. And I think I'm trying to think of when I saw Man vs. Snake. It was after I'd already started on the project. It was probably maybe like 3 or 4 months after I'd started. So I had the game running, but I still had work to do on it. And then I saw that movie. I saw the documentary, and I thought, man, I gotta get this done soon to so I can ride a little bit of the Nibbler wave. But it took like another year. so
how the dock worked.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing is though, so Nibbler is obviously the whole subject of Man vs. Snake and Tim's journey to get his high score back, legitimately, right? So, and very, very fun story, awesome. Probably, I mean, like my favorite of the arcade documentaries. Definitely. For sure. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I really liked the stuff that came out in 06. Was it 06? For King of Kong and
I think it was 7. Yeah, you're in the right area anyway.
Yeah. So, but I like that stuff, and it was really an interesting insight into people's lives, and there was definitely a culture that I was unaware of at the time. But when this one came out, the first thing that I thought was really cool was the Don Bluth artwork for the poster. I was like, I don't know how that happened. By the way, I reached out to him. He's busy right now doing this, but his people did contact me. We might actually have Don Bluth on the show at some point.
That'd be awesome.
It would be really cool. I would love to have Tim on for that show too. So you could be a guest host. But anyway, Tim, tell us a little bit about your journey on Man vs. Snake and the problematic issues that you had with finding a board set.
There's all kinds of fun that went on with that. The guys that were doing the doc, once they decided it was going to... Well, let me back up. I'm jumping ahead. Originally, it started off as just going to be a short form doc, 10, 15 minutes, straight to YouTube. And then I went with Walter Day out to the Video Game Summit in Chicago. And Tim Kinsey, one of the guys doing the doc, he flew in, and I didn't know he was coming. He flew into the event. Walter was there. He gave me the certificate for getting the original score as a kid, and that was supposed to be the end of it. And then on the way back in the car trip, me, Tina, and Walter, from Chicago back to Iowa, it's a 5-hour drive, so a lot of conversation took place. And one thing led to another, and the next thing I know, I've got a nibbler in the living room. And it was one problem after another. I mean, you guys are in old arcade machines. You can imagine all the different stuff we went through. The monitor had to get capped. The board, we had some issues with that. We replaced the edge connector on the board because it's like once it was on for a while, it would work. If you disconnected it, reconnected it several times, it would finally work. So we got the bad edge connector. Of course, nobody here doing anything with it really knew anything about arcade machines, so that didn't help. So it was kind of one misadventure after another. Bought another board set, ran into the different version ROMs, where the ones where the croutons replenish instead of staying gone once you've cleared them.
Can you give us, do you know what ROM sets those are, either of you?
Version 6 is the version that once you clear them, they stay clear. So if there's three croutons on the screen and you die, when you come back, there's the same 3 are still there. And then version 9, once you pass level 32, whenever you die, the whole screen is reset. So you're forced to clear the screen without losing your life, or you keep redoing it until you do, or your game ends.
So what is the preferred ROM set?
For Marathon, version 6.
Okay.
Version 9, from what I was told, was created to prevent marathons. But I've got it stuck in my head that the first time I did it on version 9.
I think I remember you telling us that. That's interesting, because I actually removed version 6 from my BitKit, and I think I'll put it back and because when I learned a marathon, I'm going to want that, pretty sure.
So every time you have a hard time in that after level 32 thing, like, you want some endpoint there, huh?
Well, it's either, I can't remember if it's level 3 or level 2, but I have,
level 3, one day I'll get to that.
Yeah.
What you want to play is ROM set 8, the Olympia ROM set, and you want to play it on turbo. That's when the game becomes fun.
You like that one?
That's my preferred method now.
Really?
Yeah, that's the brutalist version. It's the Olympia license. They decided the game wasn't hard enough, so they sped it up in terms of how fast it goes as you start getting to the second, third, and fourth levels, and so on. And then the turbo is basically kind of doubles, not quite doubles, but it increases the game speed. It's basically how Dwayne's board for Man vs. Snake, he filmed $1 billion in his basement, but then, people started to ask if his board maybe was running too fast, and so they figured it out in the documentary why, and basically I just enabled that kind of glitch on the BitKit so you could play the game on turbo, which is kind of Dwayne's mode, and it's brutal. I mean, I think Mark...
I think you should just change it to say Dwayne's mode. That's awesome.
And then the other thing that the Olympia set added over the regular set, you gain a free life every time you clear 4 waves. The Olympia set, it's every time you clear 8 waves. So you get half the lives while you're playing it.
I can't imagine kids trying to play that game who never
they quit today. They quit. It's too hard.
It's just like, what is this? This is crap.
Here's another. So, okay, we'll get into that later. But I want to read a quote from the CraftyMech website, CraftyMech.com. It says, "If somebody snuck into my home, installed this board, and set it to boot to Nibbler, I would never have noticed the difference." Tim McVey. So tell us about that, Tim.
Well, that's awesome. Aaron sent a board out here. A buddy of mine from Ottumwa, Mark Hoff. Mark Hoff worked quite a bit with Aaron, testing different things. Mark's done some stuff with Robotron, trying to get the ROM set right. He's worked with the WizKids, trying to correct, patch the ROM set. I think he had a lot to do with the tie-dye set coming out. But he spent time working with Aaron, and they were working on getting the emulation right. And Mark came up to my house. He brought one of the pre-production BitKit boards with him, and we actually put it in my cab and played it. And it was really close the first time I played it. It was really good. My only real complaint at that point was the audio was off. It was, I think I told Aaron at the time, my words were tinny. It just, something wasn't quite right in the audio. The gameplay was really, really good. It was better than, anything I'd ever played before, not original hardware. It was better than the MAME version. It didn't have that god-awful, horrible sound at the beginning for the first 15 waves that Ken House still thinks is supposed to be there. It was good. It was really good. And Aaron said he would work on it and he'd make it better, and he did. He made it. I can't tell the difference. The only difference I see when I turn a machine on is it boots to the BitKit screen.
Right.
And you can set it so that it boots up dedicated. So that's what I meant. Somebody put that board in my machine, made it boot dedicated to Nibbler. I never would have noticed it if I was just sitting there playing it. He nailed it spot on.
Now here's the thing that I think is really cool about this, and I mean, you're guys, watch Man vs. Snake if you haven't seen it. But first of all, I bet you never considered going back to the game and going for the billion plus marathoning point score again. I bet at the time, I bet you never considered that. And I bet you never considered that this fella sitting next to you on the screen would invent a board set that would successfully and faithfully to the millisecond replace your Nibbler hardware in such a way that it was reliable,
Well, when you're 16, you can be kind of arrogant and cocky. That's why I had that old article saying that no matter what somebody gets, I'm going to beat it back. that was pretty stupid to say.
That's awesome. No, it's good.
Yeah,
I
figured
good.
Once I got the billion, that was it. It was over. That was the race, was to be the first. And I figured once I got it, the record's going to stand because who really cares? Because, Nibbler just wasn't that popular of a game in the arcade. It was just a few of us that were chasing that score.
What's Nibbler?
What's
Nibbler?
Yeah.
What's
So
Nibbler?
I thought it was going to stand. I thought that was the end of it. And then, at 16, thinking ahead, 30-some years, I never gave a thought to it. As a 16-year-old, you're not thinking 30 years from now.
No.
That's why I sold my original machine. I wasn't thinking, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years from now.
Sure.
But yeah, as I got back into some of these games and seeing how many cabs disappeared, and you've seen videos and pictures of old warehouses where they took them outside and smashed them to get rid of them, and just some of that stuff that just makes you sick to your stomach. You don't realize how bad they're going to disappear.
And it's so weird. Like I never thought that I would have the nostalgic feelings I do for arcade games the way I do, but of course the 2000s rolled around and I'm like, well, I want an arcade game in my house. What do I want? And the first game that came to mind for me was Tron. So I went after a Tron cocktail because I thought that'd be a more interesting conversation piece. But we all kind of go back and we're like, how are we going to get this hardware? And Aaron, you did the BitKit out of need, basically, right? It wasn't necessarily that you thought, well, these games are rare. I'm going to have a hard time finding a board set that works. Is that really what facilitated it, or what was the motivation?
You could say that a little bit for Nibbler, because at the time I started the project, I think they were like $150 to $200 for a board set. I think now they're probably a good solid $300.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I wasn't necessarily dying to get a Nibbler board set, but the more I learned about the game and the hardware just by looking at the schematics online, it seemed like for me, who had never done an FPGA project, that it was a good one to start out with because the hardware is pretty simple. SNK, the Japanese company that made the hardware, basically kind of pieced it together from, it looks like, a couple of older projects because there are features on the board that predated, was it 1981, 1982? 1981 or 1982 when it came out. So they kind of hodgepodge some stuff together. So it wasn't very sophisticated. So it was a good platform for me to start with to learn about FPGA. And then as I got into it, and then once I saw Man vs. Snake, and I knew Mark Hoff from the KLOV forums, and I think he messaged me and said, hey, I can get in touch with Tim if you'd like, and maybe get your project in front of him. And so, that really motivated me to get it done because it was like, well, if I can get this in front of Tim and Tim can play it and it plays right for him, that's the best, that's the best testing I can have. That's the quality of the seal of quality right there. So that kind of propelled the project forward. And then the more I discovered about some of the other Rockola games, they were kind of hard to find. Like Fantasy is not as hard to find, but Pioneer Balloon, it's pretty impossible to find just a random Pioneer Balloon board in the wild. You can convert with a little bit of wires. You can convert Nibbler to Pioneer Balloon, but they're not just out there in the wild, already already ready to go. So I just kind of built on that, and then I started looking at other hardware that I could add, because I think your point was the hardware is getting older. It's all about 30 years old, getting older. And some of it's not very reliable. The Nibbler board sets, the edge connect, the ribbon connectors that connect the two boards are really bad. And so you have all sorts of issues with those. I fixed probably about a dozen board sets, and half of them I fixed just by doing those connectors, reseating the connectors, and then resoldering the ROM sockets. Because the ROM sockets are really bad on those boards too. And there's a lot of hardware like that. Tron is another. All the MCR boards have a lot of issues.
Galaga.
Galaga. So, that's the whole FPGA movement and why it interested me when it came to arcade.
Sure.
And I wasn't the first one. I mean, some other guys like J-Rock did the Multi-Williams and several boards. But just the idea that you could preserve the hardware as accurately as you wanted to put the time in to make that happen, and preserve it, in a way that it could take the place of a dedicated board that's maybe failed or is flaky, and give the same experience to the player and the collector. So yeah, that was something that I said, this is pretty cool. I'm going to do something with this, and I'm going to continue this project and see what I can do with it.
I think one of the really neat things about you two guys connecting up is, as you mentioned, there were other FPGA projects. And, people go on and on about how FPGA is accurate. They'd say, oh, we did this and we looked at that. But this is, to my knowledge, the first time that you had somebody who was literally a world champion on a game playing the FPGA game and saying, this is accurate enough that I couldn't tell the difference with the real hardware. And so, because people ask me all the time, why would I buy this board that has 8 Williams games instead of this other board that has 300 games? Or why would I buy a big kit instead of a 60-in-1? And what I keep telling people is because these are more like the real game. And it's hard to really explain that to somebody who hasn't seen that real game in 30 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, Tim, you bring to the conversation a reality to that really it isn't on the other systems, and I think emphasizes the value of FPGA to our hobby.
Yeah, it's amazing. You have the stability, you have the accuracy. From what I've seen of the FPGA, that thing's going to outlive me. I have no worries about that board failing me or flaking out anytime in the future like I do about the original boards. As soon as I got one of the bit kits, I haven't plugged my original board back in. I don't have a reason to. If I ever marathon again, I'll have to. I got to do it on original.
Right.
Or I've considered trying to talk Twin Galaxies into tracking the bit kit score, and possibly going for the billion on that.
By the way,
that would be cool.
I'd like to just mention the games that are officially supported right now. And Nibbler is the top of the list. Then you have Fantasy, Pioneer Balloon, Vanguard, Zarzan, Eyes, which is a favorite of mine. Mr. TNT, also a favorite of mine. I think
that's a good game.
Totally missed by many, many people. I think it was only available in kit. It was a conversion, right? And so Egor, Piranha, Titan. Piranha and Titan are pretty much the same in many respects. Titan's got some kind of fun, spacey graphics, which is a Pac-Man knockoff. Glob and Beastie. Beastie is so fun.
I just picked up a Beastie cocktail.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw Brian's cocktail.
Sweet.
Pretty cool.
Beastie's
a fun game.
It is.
Yeah, it's a better mix of the Glob. The Glob, it gets brutally hard after like the 5th or 6th board.
Yeah.
It just gets super fast, and they kind of remixed it with Beastie and made it a bit more playable. So I like Beastie a lot.
Yeah, me too. I totally agree. Pango, which I think is the version with popcorn music.
And it's on Pack hardware, and I've gotten a few questions of that. They say, well, the music's different on the Sega version. And so I've had to kind of remind people, it's like, well, the version on the BitKit runs on Pac-Man hardware.
Sure.
And that was a bootleg made by operators to run on Pac-Man, which has less memory than the Sega dedicated Pingo board. So they did cut the music a little bit. It still sounds good, but they cut some, it's not the same sound section, so it doesn't have quite the same depth to it. And you don't have that opening screen where the penguins are on the ice, and they're the colors in the sky. You don't have that. But yeah.
And then you have Lizard Wizard, and then my 4 favorite recent games are Anteater, Frogger, Super Cobra, and Jump Bug, which are all just great. And by the way, I think the BitKit is still for sale? Are you selling that direct now, Aaron?
I'm selling it directly now on Facebook. It's just Facebook/CraftyMech, or on my website, which is just craftymech.com. Or through, and you can get the information there. And I'm selling them directly for the time being. And then I'll probably
you dropped the price. It's
the price has gone down a little bit. Yeah, the price is it's $175 right now.
So can I get a refund for?
No, just buy some more.
Yeah.
Return the machine with the board in there, and then you'll get a board back.
And here's a funny thing: when I saw, so I've seen a lot of projects come up on Clav, a lot of vaporware, if you will. There are certain people that we can expect will produce product. Take Man, Taki Man, whatever his name is. There's Phoenix who drops in and says, "Hey, I'm doing this." High Score Saves, whoever else, Rich to a degree, he's got, they all post their stuff, and you can pretty much be assured that it'll be available. And when I saw the BitKit show up, I thought it was interesting because here was this FPGA project by a guy who I had not seen do any FPGA projects or any other arcade-related projects at that point.
What about the test pattern generator?
The TPG.
Yeah, the TPG.
Yeah. And the scanline generator.
Come
on.
Right,
Well, let me clarify. I had not seen these other projects because I wasn't looking for those things. I wasn't. So, but this was
Adam's out of touch and sees a guy doing a project.
Yes.
Yeah, and this seemed ambitious to me. It seemed ambitious to me. So I signed up like right away, and I was an early adopter. And
that's true. Yeah.
I just want to say that I'm really happy that this project came to fruition, and I'm so delighted that I get to show people my Miss Pac-Man machine, and just like they can play all these different games on it. I think it's awesome. So
that's great.
Thank you for that.
No, it's just I'm relentless, I guess.
Yeah,
that's my. I'm trying to have fun, make stuff. Make some money at the same time,
support your hobby,
support my hobby. And but the community's been great, and all the people that have supported have been great. And it certainly wouldn't have, been what it is right now, it been successful if it didn't have the community interested in it and buying it. And so.
And now I have some other questions for Tim. What is on the back of your wall, first of all?
Which part?
Those Hot Wheels?
Yeah, there's a lot of die-cast, a lot of Hot Wheels. They're not all Hot Wheels, but they're that size. They're die-cast collectible cars, NASCAR cars, a lot of Jeff Gordon stuff.
Okay.
I'm a huge Jeff Gordon fan.
Number 24?
Number 24, when he was in NASCAR, he's now retired. But I go to the sprint car races up at Knoxville literally every Saturday night, every year, all summer. And I met Jeff at Knoxville when he was 15 years old driving a sprint car. And we sat down on a tailgate of a pickup truck in the pits, and we talked for like an hour. And I was blown away. Here's this 15-year-old kid sitting here talking to a guy that's a little bit older than him and giving me his time, sitting there, after the races, sitting there talking for like an hour. And I just became a fan, just listening to him, talking to him, having a discussion with him, and then I followed him from there. He went. I see him on ESPN. He was racing midgets and USAC sprint cars.
You got to tell him to get back in the race. Petty didn't quit till he was dead. I mean,
I don't want to see him die, but I love watching him race. Been fortunate. I've met quite a few guys up at Knoxville over the years. Kyle Larson, current NASCAR racer, he races up at Knoxville quite a bit.
That's cool.
What does Gordon?
He's been up there.
What does Gordon do now that he's retired? I mean, just hang out at home.
I think it's Fox. Which channel? But he's one of the color analysis analysts, whatever, for the races.
Nice, I can see that.
And he's co-owner of Jimmy Johnson's car. Jimmy's the 7-time NASCAR champion. So he's still involved. He's still busy.
That's sweet.
But yeah, most of that in the background is Jeff Gordon stuff. A lot of die-cast.
All right, I got a question for you about your arcade days. One we didn't ask you before. I see your KISS shirt. I love it. When you were playing Nibbler in '84, or even just think back to when you were in the heyday, right? This is Time Magazine, Atumwa Time. This is Tim's taking over the town for a day. This is everybody's friends, and Walter is there. What was in your jukebox? What were your top jukebox plays? Think back, think of some songs, and tell us what you liked to hear when you were in an arcade.
I've been a metalhead my whole life. I can remember taking my Walkman down there, and I had Ted Nugent, Motley Crue, Night Ranger.
Got any particular
songs?
Any particular songs that ring out?
Crazy Train, Ozzy Osbourne.
Crazy
was
Train,
my favorite song of all. Yeah. I had a ghetto blaster. I had a bungee strap to the handlebars on my BMX bike.
Oh,
so when we bike ride, we had tunes to listen to.
That's what we're talking about.
And the first time I heard Crazy Train coming on the radio, it basically knocked me on my ass. I mean, I just stopped, and completely stopped, and just sat there and was like, holy shit, listen to that guitar. Randy Rhoads floored me, and I was hooked.
Yep.
And probably the next one after that was Eddie Van Halen, all the old Van Halen stuff.
Oh, God, yeah.
First time I heard Eruption. Just total metalhead. That's all I've ever been into, really, really hardcore.
So not so much I noticed you missed some of the cues for the new wave stuff. Not a big...
I actually knew most of them. I didn't know I was really allowed to play, and it's not fair because I've got the Skype feed, so I could hear it before they could.
It's very true, very true.
I just kind of sat there and kept my mouth shut. Plus, I screwed up the one I did run my mouth on. So,
but you know you got the band right, so that's half
I knew
the
the song. I can't believe I said that.
You know what? It's the older I get, the worse I get at these games. So, Aaron, other side of the tracks, what was your jukebox back in the 80s?
Well, 1984, or in the 80s, or that era.
Yeah,
at that time.
Say early 80s, 80 to 84, 79 to 84.
Yeah, I had the first two cassettes I had were The Police, Synchronicity.
Oh yeah, 1983.
And Hall & Oates.
Which one? Which one?
I love the one with their big hit on it, or a couple of their big hits on it.
They had H2O, right?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know the band that well enough to know their records.
Well, I'm a huge fan, so let me just pull up a couple.
Okay. Well, you know,
I saw them I saw them when they were here in concert, and I have to say, Tears for Fears opened for them, and I like Tears for Fears better because Hall & Oates, Daryl Hall likes to riff, and they just went on. They went on like crazy. But H2O has Maneater.
That's probably the album then, because I do remember Maneater was on it.
And it has One on One, and then it has Family Man. So those were three big hits, and then also the Private Eyes album from '81, of course. So you remember that?
I'm not sure. It could have been Private Eyes too.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But not long after that, I took a turn and went a different direction.
Oh, okay.
And I
Christian
got
rock?
into a lot of Black Flag.
Yes,
and,
punk.
Other bands like that from that era.
Dead Kennedys.
Yeah, I mean, I never really was into Dead Kennedys as much, but Black Flag and then Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh yeah.
A lot of that kind of music where it was just angry.
Yeah.
Maybe I was at an angry point in my teens, like a lot of teens. But yeah, so
that was awesome.
But yeah, so very different music.
All you wanted was a Pepsi, right?
What?
So
I said all you wanted was a Pepsi, right?
Yeah, that's
right. So were you a fan of the Repo?
And to watch my TV with a six-pack of beer.
So
which is one of my favorite early Black Flag songs.
So Repo Man soundtrack has Black Flag, Suicidal Tendencies, Circle Jerks, Burning Sensations.
Actually a good movie. It's a stupid movie, but it's a good movie.
Well, just for the music. Just for the music. It's
Dwayne loves it.
It's
you almost slipped.
It's phantasms and stuff. Brian's just like he's like waiting for me to say fantastic.
Almost got it.
You almost got it. Okay, so since we're letting our guests do it, and we haven't done this before, but Mark, what was your 80s jukebox?
My 80s jukebox, I would say a lot of Led Zeppelin and Van Halen. That was actually the first stuff that I learned to play on the guitar and piano that I liked. my mom sent me to piano lessons. I didn't like anything that they were, like, oh, here's Fur Elise. I'm like, what's this? I don't like it.
And you're like, I want to play Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny. This is a strange story. I met a friend who it's funny, he was in bands in town, and he was, him and his dad were in a band with Chuck Rio. He's the guy that sings the song Tequila.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
And so, anyway, I met Trey because I logged onto a BBS called Vox Populi, and the guy that ran the board was basically airing out his dirty laundry and saying, this guy that's on my BBS, I hate him, here's his phone number, call him. And so I called him intending to, like, just screw with him, and then I made a friend. And so
the first doxing attempt fails.
Yeah, we're still friends to this day.
That's awesome.
So and so he helped me learn all of my riffs from Led Zeppelin, and basically steered my love of that particular genre.
That's interesting because that stuff's like 70s, dude. That's pretty cool.
I know, and back then, there was no internet,
so huge.
Yeah.
People, it was all new to me, and even knowing how many albums they had was sort of like the secret, that a lot of people didn't realize.
We got to round it out. Brian, tell me, what's your jukebox hits of the 80s?
In the 80s? Wow, I don't even know if I had my own stereo system in the 80s. So I was just like picking off my parents' stuff.
Sure.
It's kind of funny. What I remember from the 80s was an unfortunate amount of Sound of Music, ABBA, and
well, come on. These were I know you were not listening to ABBA when you were looking
No. So like the funny thing is that all the 80s music that I know now is like completely the influence of my wife. So when I started dating Susan, we had been going out for probably 3-4 months. She says, you want to go to a concert? I said, sure. So we go up to this concert up at Moondance Gym in northern Minnesota. And I'm thinking, we sit out in the concert, we watch the show. No, that's not how you do concerts with Susan. So we go backstage, meet up with the guitarist for Grand Funk. He hands us the artist laminates. What? We're backstage sitting with Alice Cooper, and Susan's like giving Alice Cooper's daughter a back rub while I'm talking to Dee Snider. And I'm just like, this is not like a normal concert. And so all the 80s stuff I know, honestly, I hate to admit, I started learning over the last 10 years that I've been with Susan. And so, all this music that I missed back then, and she's just completely, that's all that plays at our house now. And our son, you can sit there and play half these songs. Our son's first concert at 8 years old was AC/DC.
Which one?
Wow.
Which one? That's awesome.
Which tour?
What's up?
Which tour?
Which tour?
2 years ago. So we got him right before Brian Johnson left, because I would.
He's back.
I would have. Is he back with them?
Yep, he's back.
Really?
I could not do Axl Rose with them. That's the one band from the 80s I cannot. So in the OR when I'm operating, we always have 80s music on, and one of the guys in the OR knows that when Guns N' Roses comes on, it's next song. Love the music, hate Axl Rose's voice.
It's hilarious. Yeah, I'm not a huge Guns N' Roses fan either. I do have like one of their albums, because you got to hear a little Sweet Child of Mine once in a while.
Oh, yeah, can't wait till they're redone.
Yeah, when's the reboot?
Yeah, exactly. I want someone else to do their music over.
That would be
Be
good.
interesting, right? Oh, that's cool. Okay, so I've already talked about my 80s jukebox many times, and we play it on the show every week. So I'm kind of a new wave kid. I love 84. 84 is a great year. But I'm all over the board. It could be U2, R.E.M., Fleetwood Mac, Led Zeppelin. It could be AC/DC. But back in the day, I was probably listening to more like, kind of like Aaron, kind of a little bit all over the board, So, yeah. So, I think that's a fun subject because arcade culture is really intertwined with music, I think.
Well, the crazy thing is, I did go to a Cyndi Lauper concert once.
Oh my God.
Me too.
Back in 83? 83?
Yeah, back in it was.
She's so unusual.
She toured with the Bangles as her opening act. back before the Bengals really hit it big on their own.
That might have been.
I think I was 12, so it would have been 84. It would have been 84.
Oh,
83
so
or 84.
it was so unusual then. That's a freaking awesome album.
I bet there was like a bajillion girls at that concert.
Oh my God. This brings me back.
Think that's probably why I got into Black Flag.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah,
smart.
so it's why you got into Black Flag.
It drove me to like really angry music without.
I know. I mean, I know this isn't exactly the same, but my wife was like, "Hey, you want to go to an Avril Lavigne concert?" I'm like, "Heck yes."
Yeah, I think at the time that Cyndi Lauper was out, I was listening to Michael Jackson, Cyndi Lauper, Scorpions, because the Scorpions had "Rock You Like a Hurricane." Yeah, it's just awesome. The 80s were so awesome for music because they had all this variety.
I do remember picking up the Thriller album, like we had the record.
Oh yeah.
And that was on quite a bit.
Yeah, it's nice. So the chatters are saying they've got Elton John in here. Is that GNR? Then I'm out. Okay, if we're dissing GNR, then I'm out.
Well, I mean, come on. The first GNR, their debut album was. I mean, that's a classic album.
Yeah. Andy Bowman says H2O.
It was all downhill after that.
It was all downhill after that. It's true.
I fully acknowledge the pleasure. Like the songs are great. It's just Axl Rose's voice. And maybe it's just that I was so bitter from seeing him with Stephanie Seymour in the '80s and then ditch her that I never got over that. And I couldn't deal with him as a person.
I love the Axl Rose memes late though. Like when he started to get really popular in the last couple of years, they had the meme I loved was welcome to the jungle. We got cakes and pies. he's on stage, and it just the angle of the photo just makes his face look huge. He's had a hard. He's treating himself poorly. I think he's not looking great.
It's interesting because when he started singing as a replacement singer for AC/DC, he was on crutches.
Yeah, he had to sit in that seat.
Yeah.
Oh.
But he had lost a bunch of weight because he gained
Chinese
a ton.
Democracy was horrible, dude. I'm sorry, I'm reading chat.
I never saw that. I know that took years for that to come out.
Well, I gotta say, Andy Baldwin.
It should have took longer. It wasn't done.
Andy Baldwin said his first Hall & Oates album, or his first album, was H2O by Hall & Oates.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's a great album. And Brian, he's waiting for me to say fantastic. I won't do it.
I'm just gonna get the soundbite and keep playing it.
It's great.
See you, Randall. He says he's out. I pissed him off. Oh no.
Oh. Bye, Randy. It's good to see you. Thanks for playing Chumbawamba. That's not an arcade song. Aaron, I'm gonna kick you in the nuts next time I see you.
Sanders. Aaron
Sanders. Aaron Reed's like, don't kick me in the nuts. Don't kick me in the nuts.
That was Tub Thumper.
Tub Thumper. Okay, so back on track. Mark, I know you have some questions for these fellas. Let them roll. Let them rip. It's what's going on here.
Right. My questions for these fellas, which if I have one. Wait, am I supposed to be looking on a shirt?
I think Mark is he's using satellite TV for his internet.
Yeah, that's good. I think I've seen that commercial where you can get
dial-up.
It's like
if you live in a remote location, you can get 56K bandwidth.
I was
36 shotgun.
Or just take up a fish sandwich, Big Mac.
It's a DeLorean time anomaly.
Did he freeze up? It looks like he's frozen.
Looks like it.
Yeah, he's frozen.
I asked him a question. Yeah, it's hilarious. I think I told him he needs to plug in because he can interpret the entire Imperial network then. But he needs a direct there. Oh, here he comes. You back?
You see me?
Yeah, we can.
All I did was mute my video.
The whole time. You're just stationary.
Yeah, you were like a mannequin. It was really cool.
I didn't disconnect. I just muted my video and unmuted it. It sounds like your problem instead of my problem.
Well, everybody else was doing fine, Mark. I hate to tell you.
It's not you. It's me.
It's not us. It's you.
Right. So, okay, let me... My dad's calling. Turn that off. My question is
get
for
him on the
Tim.
show.
My dad's FaceTiming.
What's his Skype handle? I'll call him right now.
Excuse me. He doesn't have a Skype handle. That's just too advanced. No. Let's get here. My question is for Tim, and I guess it's basically, what is your next arcade event that you're attending? Like, are you going to go to an expo somewhere, or like, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I don't have anything planned for 19. Score Wars last year at 18, that wasn't planned. That just kind of came out of the blue. They invited Tina and I out there, and I was kind of like, really? What's a Meow Wolf? And why am I going to Score Wars? This is Galaga. What's this got to do with me?
Sure.
And I'm glad I went. It was awesome. The facility was unbelievable. The staff was first class. The event was first class. Everything about it. It's one of the most fun times I've ever had at an event. And everybody that came in for the Galaga Championships, it was so intense the way they had it set up, watching everybody play. That was a blast. I don't know what my next one is. I haven't really thought about it. I mean, there's nothing that we're looking to go do right now.
Right. But so you're saying you're available, so that if we throw somebody at you, it could happen.
We gotta get him on MGC. We gotta get him at MGC.
Kind of like what I talked about earlier, the pet center and the logistics of it all and stuff.
Yes.
I got to know it far enough ahead of time. And the few events I've been asked to attend over the last couple of years, they, especially if it's Walter and Billy and those guys related. Walter asked me to go to an event on a Saturday, and he asked me the Sunday before it. I don't work.
It's a little short notice.
Yeah.
There's no way. That's not even possible. So the longer I know ahead of time, the better chance there is of getting me somewhere. If there's somebody that, some event that would like to have us there as a guest or whatever.
Well, if we can stay at your house when you leave, that'll be fine,
Yeah, you could put up with all the fur.
Yeah, just put on a mask.
It's like every time I have somebody stay over, they're allergic to cats. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't stay with you.
Well, yeah, don't offer to come over here.
I think we need to get you up to MGC.
Oh, MagFest, yeah.
MGC's fun.
Yeah.
We casually mentioned, maybe going this year, and then just haven't went anywhere with it. I keep spending too much damn money on computer equipment right now.
Yeah, I've seen the post, Tim. Your new PC looks pretty impressive that you're building.
Oh, it's killing me waiting for the last two pieces.
We're going to do that.
Patience.
What processor?
All I'm down to is the CPU cooler. The radiator was, we'll call it tweaked when I got it. Some shipping damage. And I screwed up when I ordered the power supply. This is the first extreme processor that I've ever built a board, built a system with. I'm used to a 24 pin and either a 4 or an 8 pin. Well, this new board has a 24, an 8, and a 4. So once I started putting it together, I saw the extra 4. I'm like, well, I ordered the wrong power supply. So that just got RMA'd. It went back yesterday and got to go through that deal to get the new one. Then we're going to rock finally.
Sweet.
Nice.
Well, like I said, we got to get Dan on the show, Dan Lucen from MGC, give us a little bit of a preview of what's going on, and we'll put a bug in his ear.
Dan's a good guy. We're friends on Facebook.
Get
we
that
chat
Tim guy over there. They have a ton of guests. Ernie, what's his name from Ghostbusters?
Ernie Hudson?
Ernie Hudson?
Yeah.
He was there last year.
Oh, really?
No, he wasn't. I was there last year. He wasn't there.
But
he's there this year. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they had like a Ghostbusters 10 tie-in or something?
He did a bunch of stuff with the Ghostbusters 10 tie. He was here in Minneapolis when they launched it here.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
That's cool.
But not MGC. But he'll be there this year. That's kind of cool.
Cool.
And there's a DeLorean there, Mark.
Screw it.
Second year in a row.
Who's DeLorean?
I don't know. You want me to take pictures?
Some guy.
You can identify it.
Just one.
Yeah.
I know a couple guys that have DeLoreans.
I would rather see a Kit, actually. I think I'm
Kit.
I have a Kit.
The old one or the new one?
Not the old one. No, I don't own a Mustang. Psh.
Yeah, who wants that? Who wants that shit?
That's,
Besides, Val Kilmer's going to be inside it, and then what?
Right.
I'd rather have Michael.
Of Kit, I think B52 Brewing is doing something on January 26th again, and I'll be in Florida. We have to talk about this because I think our next podcast is when I'm going to be in Florida.
Florida?
Florida?
Okay, fine.
Hey, speaking of Kit, though, I will say that one thing that shocked me as a child was watching Knight Rider, and then the guy that did the voice for Knight Rider, I think he was then on Saint Elsewhere as an actual character, and that just freaked me out. It was really weird. Hearing Kit's voice matched with a real person, it just didn't feel right.
And he was on Galactica 1980 in the first episode.
Oh, really?
It was a two-parter with what's his name? The announcer from the radio guy from the 50s, 60s. Wolfman Jack. So Wolfman Jack's in an episode, and it's like the day the Cylons invade Earth or something. I can't remember the name of the episode.
The night the Cylons ended is the name of the episode.
Exactly. It's basically they try to play on the fact that, it's like a Orson Welles crappy interpretation. But anyway, the Cylon comes down and nobody recognizes it's a Cylon because it's Halloween. And he's in costume.
Perfect. Oh, right. Okay.
It's good times,
Yeah, I got a couple comments I want to throw out at the chat. Aaron Sanders, he says, ask him about Callan. That was out at Score Wars. Callan Hendricks, he was awesome. He was a fantastic tech. He worked his ass off to make me happy with the Nibbler cab that I had to work with out there. Great guy, really good guy, a lot of fun. I never said anything about going for David's Robotron score. I can't play Robotron like I used to. I would love to. I'm just not there yet. I have one. I'm playing, but I'm not nowhere near on that level yet.
Sweet.
It's funny.
If I could do it, I would. But yeah, I love Robotron. It's the best game ever made.
David is in our band.
Yeah, Robotron's my favorite. It's always been my favorite. I used to be able to marathon it back in the day, and Walter tried to get me to do it, and I just laughed. Because the arcade game back then, all you seen was the 7 or the 8 lives, and you had no idea how many you had. And I watched people do marathons where somebody was sitting there, like with a spiral notebook. Well, I was the first one. My first marathon was for somebody's Joust marathon. And I sat there and had the spiral notebook. Every time they gained a life, you put down a tally mark. Every time they died, you crossed it off. It's just too much work, and it's hard to keep accuracy. Keep your focus on just sitting there and making tally marks, marking them off so you keep an accurate track. And those games, you die so damn fast. You get up to go to the restroom, and you come back, you think you have 200 lives, and you go to the restroom, they're like, "Hey, your game's over!" I didn't want to do Robotron because of that. But now they've changed it. There's actually a counter at the bottom on the tie-dye on the newer stuff. And if I could ever get my chops back on it, I'd entertain the idea. I'd love to put 100 million on tape.
It's funny. We've had Eugene on the show twice, Eugene Jarvis, and I've never asked him what his high score is or if he's ever tried a marathon.
I don't think he's ever tried a marathon.
No, I don't think so.
He doesn't really do from what I've talked to him anyway, he doesn't really do like the marathon games. He cranks it up to the higher settings and goes for scores that way.
Yeah.
Just to make himself happy, to challenge himself.
That guy's hilarious, by the way. I love
him. He's very entertaining.
I think this falls into that whole Eugene saying, "Oh, we made it really hard," and then all of a sudden these guys come in and then they're able to beat the game, and it makes us mad.
Right.
Well, they did make it really hard. I've never been very good at it. I've always liked it, but I've never been good at it.
Right.
Well, it's much harder. It's much harder when you can't shoot left.
Hey, do you watch your language? You shut your mouth when I'm talking to you. Earlier on the show, Aaron, we went over what we're working on, and my Robotron first player will not shoot left. So the interface board needs a little work. I've got 3 chips on the way. I'm rebuilding the whole damn board because I didn't bother to use a Logic Probe, and I've already replaced half the chips. So I'm just gonna rebuild the whole thing.
The shotgun approach.
Yeah, well, I put in another board and it worked. So I know it's the interface board. I just want to fix the board that's a problem. So
I'm spoiled. Mark Hoff scratch built my Robotron. It's got a J-Rock in it.
Oh, cool.
Thing's bulletproof.
Yeah,
it's so much fun to play.
I kind of wanted to do a J-Rocks, but I have 3. I have Defender, I have Joust, which I've done the RAM mod on, and I have Robotron, which I can't bear to just. I can't bear to put. I don't want to put a J-Rock in there.
I had a Robotron, and Mark and I did just damn near everything to it. We replaced the ribbons, replaced the RAM chips, got new ROM sets. I mean, we went through that thing, and it kept carpet resetting, and I just wanted to put my fist through it. Eventually, I just said, okay, I'm done.
J-Rock.
I could get up to about 6 or 7 million. The thing had reset on me, and it was just nothing but endless frustration as a player. And I finally said, "Oh, I'm done. It's gone. It's out of here. I'm going to break it or I'm going to sell it, one or the other."
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good approach. Go ahead, Mark. Brian.
I was going to say, you can also, you can always put the J-Rocks in without modifying the original hardware. You can just tie into the pins. My Robotron is running everything original is in there. I just threw a J-Rock in on top of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I would have done if I didn't know about the J-Rocks at the time. Mark didn't either. If I still had that cab, that's what it would be running now. But he measured. He went to the North English, went up to Mike's Arcade up there, and he measured and checked, angles and dimensions, and he built a cab that's. If you didn't know what you were looking at, you wouldn't know it was a homemade cab.
It's awesome.
He did a fantastic job on it. It's really nice.
Well, I want to thank you both for being on the show. I know Aaron was a little bit of a surprise. Tim, thanks for bearing with us for the first 35 minutes as we tortured our chatters with, technical difficulties once again. We have made strides, though, this season. I think this video chat format is really awesome, and I hope to maintain that and make it better. But I don't want to keep anybody up. It's 20 minutes past what we normally shut down. So thanks for being on the show, both of you guys. And I look forward to having you both on as guests again, or as guest hosts.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Brian, Mark.
Let me know. Like I said, the ahead of time thing. The more I know ahead of time, the easier things are to arrange.
Yeah. And Mark, and you'll have a new PC by then too. But Mark,
finally.
You're not. Is he frozen again? I can't tell if Mark.
I'm not frozen again, am I? Huh?
No, he's moving.
Oh, he just totally okay.
No, I rebooted my thing just in case. Am I moving? Can you see
that
me?
video promo was awesome there, Aaron.
You're totally fine.
That's slow. Just you have to slow mo it. You have to pause the video. But
so early on, when I was doing some instructional videos on YouTube, people kept saying that I didn't have a good enough intro. And so I took these pieces of paper and wrote down different things to completely make fun of it and did all the music with my mouth just to completely make fun of the video intros.
I wish I could have had a video for you, Aaron. When you sent me, when Mark came up the first time in that bit kit,
right.
And he pulled it out, Tina's like, "What's that?" And Mark says, "It's bit kit." And she says, "What's that?" And Mark says, "It's Nibbler." And Tina's like, "On that? On that little thing? How does that have Nibbler on it?" Because she's seen the board set, a number of times. How do you get the two boards down onto that? And it was so comical. My wife's not, an electronic person at all.
Right.
But just the size of it totally freaked her out. She goes, "There's no way that's going to play right." And we're like, "Okay." It was funny. I wish I would have had a video of it for you.
It's cool.
You got to say hi to Tina for us too, for sure.
Yeah, she's probably bed already. I bet she cut out on me earlier.
She's like, "What is going on with this show? I'm out of here."
Hell, she might be one of the people watching. I don't know. Anything's possible. I linked it on my page.
I did get one of these little things from Andy Seckler.
Oh, sweet!
Oh, cool.
Sent me a little Nibbler cabinet and the DVD of the documentary because I sent him a bit kit a while back.
Oh, that's awesome. Are those for sale? Because I want one of those.
I think they made those.
I don't know if he has more or not.
Yeah, I think they made them just for the Kickstarter. So.
Oh, okay. That's
you plug it in, and it's not playable, of course, but there's a little LCD in there, and you get little Nibbler strings.
Are you going to make it playable? Is that what's going to happen?
No.
There'd be a challenge for you. Shrink the bit kit down to play in that cabinet.
Wow.
All right, guys, stick with us after the outro so we can have a little bit of goodbye before we just hang up on you.
Abruptly hang up on each other.
Yeah, here we go. So I want to thank you again for listening in on the double R's. That's Arcade Radio.
Check us out on Facebook, Arcade Radio, or arcaderadio.com. That's RCADERADIO.com.
And then
Watch Mark change to the last tab.
Call and leave comments on the questions line, which is 612-548-GAME or 4263.
Yes, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcade Radio, and Twitter @Arcade Radio.
That's right.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's just one click.
All right, and subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and or SoundCloud.
Well, that's going to be it for the show. From the Arcade Radio team, we hope you had a great time. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for sticking with us, guys.
Guys roll. And now we take off our pants. Not on camera.
Wait, we're supposed to wear pants?
I'm not wearing my pants.
Do it!
I wonder if this echoes too.
No, the music has been great.